And that race to be the 5th District's next representative could come under a very different set of boundaries this year. That's thanks to Virginia Democrats' mid-decade redistricting effort, which is likely to go to a statewide referendum in the spring. Kate Nectarline joins us live in the newsroom with how a new map could redraw Virginia politics.
Aaron, with Virginia joining the national political battle over gerrymandering, midterm elections are likely to have a new spin. If Democratic lawmakers manage to pull it off, even some heavy Republican districts could turn wide open.
It is unprecedented. This has never happened before.
A whole lot when it comes to redistricting is still unclear, but after a sit-down with Speaker of the Virginia House Don Scott, UVA's Larry Sabato says numbers are coming into focus. There's a big possibility that Virginia's balance of 6 Democratic-leaning districts and 5 Republican-leaning districts could become 10-1.
Now, if he were absolutely forced to do it, maybe it would turn into a 9-2.
Different versions of those maps are floating around online, but Democrats have not endorsed a preferred one yet.
No one knows the maps. I don't care what people are telling you. I know for a fact this is not decided.
Sabato says any redistricting would likely leave Southwest Virginia a Republican stronghold alone, but the rest of the state would be fair game. Charlottesville and Albemarle County, spots of bright blue in a sea of the current 5th District's red, could be part of a very different slice of Virginia.
You can get a district that includes Charlottesville, Albemarle, some of the surrounding Richmond suburbs, maybe Harrisonburg, where JMU is, maybe Roanoke City.
In that case, what has been nearly impossible for Democrats could become a reality, winning the 5th. Already, several Democrats have thrown their hat in the ring.
Any Democrat with ambition in this entire Commonwealth is considering running for Congress.
If it passes, redistricting could spell major trouble for incumbent John McGuire.
I wouldn't say he's an entrenched congressman, to say the least. So he's got a problem, maybe even in the primary.
Virginia Democrats, who have the majority in the House of Delegates and the state Senate, are expected to pass a constitutional amendment to allow redistricting for the second time early in the session. Then it would go to the voters in April. Live in the newsroom, Kate Nectarline, 29 News at 5.